everyone, it's Alana, and I'm going to do a vlog today about the book that I read that after reading particularly one chapter in the middle, I decided to become vegetarian, and then after about 6 months of that, I decided to become vegan. So I'm vegan now, and I've been vegan for about a month and a half. And I wanted to make this video because a lot of people decide to go vegan either for health reasons or they're animal activists and they're against animal cruelty. And personally, for me, it's actually a little bit of both. But the animal cruelty thing, like, obviously I'm against that. But a lot of people, all they hear about is the propaganda, from organizations like PETA. So, the book that I read last year, in the middle of the year last year, was called Some We Love, Some We Hate, and Some We Eat, and it's by Hal Herzog. This is just a book about how people relate to animals in general, to all different animals, from insects to elephants, dogs, cats, pigs, cows, everything. So, this book has a lot of chapters, and they don't all cover how we relate to pets, they don't all cover how we relate to animals that we eat, but there's a chapter that compares cruelty in cockfighting, which, if you don't know what cockfighting is, it's where people have two roosters. A rooster is a male chicken, and I'm not trying to patronize anybody by explaining these things, but some people may not know, and I'm just trying to get this as easy to understand for everybody, Anyway, so two roosters, they'll put them in a ring together, and basically roosters, rooster is male. They don't like to see each other, like, they'll fight pretty much. So what they do is they put them together in a ring, and they usually attach metal to their feet so that they slash at each other, and somebody usually ends up dead. So this is a sport that's actually pretty popular in a lot of rural areas. I have no experience with it personally, but this author of the book knew some people who did cockfighting, so he went to study it, because that was his interest, was to study all the ways that people relate to animals. And the author of the book he's not a vegetarian, but he was totally against this cockfighting. He didn't understand it. He didn't understand how people justified it. He thought it was brutal and cruel, and absolutely just was 100% against it, even after hearing all of the arguments that people put forth to justify the sport. So, in the chapter, the author explains the realities and brutalities of both cockfighting and the meat industry, like for broiler hens. Like, a broiler hen is like one that's raised to get a lot of, like, meat on it really fast, and then it goes to get chicken breast at the store. It came from a broiler hen. So he explained both of those, and he said that it would probably, if you had to be a chicken, you would probably want to be a rooster who was being used in cockfighting rather than a broiler hen, because a broiler hen has a very short, very horrible life. They usually never go outside. They have their beaks burned off, all this horrible stuff, which I'm really not going to talk about because you've probably heard it before. The cockfighting roosters, though, got, like, the best food. People would, like, raise them as, like, this, you're my champion, like, you have to be, they get raised basically as athletes. So, like, you're an athlete and you have somebody taking care of you, doing your food, doing your freaking massage, and, like, your exercise and all that, like, pretty much the best life. And then if they go into the ring with another rooster, they might be dead right away, or they might have a couple more fights. So neither life is, like, an ideal situation, but one's definitely preferable to the other. So, here are the arguments that some of the cockfighting the people who did cockfighting, the cockfighters, I guess. I don't. The nomenclature is kind of. Anyway, this is how they justified it. First of all, they denied that it was cruel. They, like, if you said, hey, isn't your sport cruel and terrible, they're like, no, it's not cruel. Like, we treat these roosters amazing. And then, yeah, they fight, but the thing was that they were like, well, the fighting is natural. Like, roosters always fight each other when they see each other. They don't need to be, like, made mean to fight. They don't have any special, like, training to, oh, you gotta kill that rooster. Like, they're gonna do that when they come face to face. They're gonna fucking fight. Like, that's what they do. So first of all, they said there's nothing cruel about this. It is natural. Like, that's. And they also said, oh, we love the chickens. We love them and we take care of them. So nothing that we're doing to them is cruel. Like, nothing is wrong with this. This is when I started thinking to myself, like, okay, I've been eating meat for 27 and a half years. Up until that point, I had been. It's a little bit messed up that the same arguments that I have used personally myself, I was like, oh yeah, it's natural to eat meat. Like, people have eaten meat for a long time, capable of digesting it, and yeah, so it's natural. There's nothing creepy or weird or unnatural about eating meat. And as far as denying cruelty goes, I can't, like, I have some pretty first-hand experience with food industry because I was in vet tech school, and we raised pigs. We went to a farm where we saw somebody slaughter a sheep. I've seen rabbits get slaughtered. I've seen a pig farm. I've raised pigs and sheep myself for food. Cows. I grew up next door to a cattle ranch, so there's a cruelty involved, but like, I could also see where people justify, like, it's not cruel. Like, some animals are raised in pretty deplorable conditions. As far as the pigs, I decided I think it was about 2 years ago, I decided to stop eating pigs because after having raised them, like, they really are intelligent and they're kind of a pain in the ass to raise, but and it took me years to think through this shit. Like, I didn't wake up one day and just decide. It was very difficult for me to make this decision. So if you're, having trouble deciding whether or not you need to, like, become vegetarian or whatever, like, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to think through and process all this, and you don't want to listen to the people who are just screaming in your face about animal cruelty and all this propaganda, because ethics is a very complicated, like, subject, and you're not just gonna, like, decide overnight. Denying cruelty, it's only a natural. Okay, and loving the animals. Well, I liked the pigs that I raised. They became bacon and ham and pork, but, that was out of my hands. Like, we knew when we started the project, like, okay, you're gonna raise these feeder pigs. Your goal is to get them to a certain weight in a certain time, and that's what the industry is about. The industry is about feeding the animals as well as you can so that they get bigger and make you more money. And they're a commodity. They're not treated like animals. So, like, whereas the roosters were pretty much pets, like, raised as your champion prize pet. The food animals aren't looked at with any sort of, some people, like, will raise animals for meat, and they don't have the capacity to be, like, so cruel about it, so they, like, my neighbor, he raised beef cattle, and, like, he wasn't mean to them, he liked them, but you're still not looking at them, like you're not going to be out there cuddling with them and giving them attention. Like you're going to feed them, make sure they get enough food, and then you're going to sell them one day. And when they're like 6 months old, you're going to sell them. And the mother cows would always cry every 6 months. They'd be crying and crying, and I could hear it from my house, and we were like half a mile away. Like the houses were about half a mile apart. I'm like, oh, I can hear the cows crying because their babies were taken away. So anyway, that's just a little glimpse in the realities are that the food industry is pretty cruel. And to deny the cruelty means that you don't know enough about it. And if you think that the animal that wasn't raised in a factory farm and was raised in like a small farm, like they still get their families split up, they get sold off, they get stuffed into trucks and driven to a feedlot, and oh my god, feedlots are the worst places you could imagine. They're full of shit. They, the animals are often get, injured or sick when they're all shoved into the trucks together, and it's pretty much downhill from there. And so basically the last couple months of your life are a living hell before you're just, shoved into the slaughterhouse to die. I went to a farm where someone raised and butchered their own rabbits, and they did it all right there, and they would, I mean, you have to take the baby rabbits away from the mom, but they don't really care as much, I don't think. I don't really know what the rabbits think, but to me they don't lament it for days like the cows did. Anyway, so yeah, when I heard these, or when I read these arguments being used, I was I was a little bit, I was shocked. Like I had never connected that, but on my own, like with everything that I have lived through and learned, like I never thought, oh yeah, I could use these same arguments I justified eating meat to justify, raising roosters to fight each other. But for that, like any animal to fight each other, although like dog fighting is probably worse because you have to teach them to be really mean. But that's sort of when I just thought, well, I guess I'll stop eating meat because it is cruel, and even though it's natural and people can love the animals they raise for food, it's not necessary. So it's just like with a sport with cockfighting. It doesn't matter if you don't see it as cruel and you understand that like roosters are gonna fight and you raise them with love and care. It's not necessary. Like you're causing harm. Eventually, that's the end outcome. No matter what leads up to it, you're causing harm, and it's unnecessary. Like you don't have to eat meat to survive. And I don't really want to respond to any arguments about that because that's the truth. Like it's not something that somebody's saying. Like, I mean, meat's not bad for you. Like if you're not eating massive quantities of it, because I think that would be bad. But massive quantities of anything is probably bad. But it's you don't have to eat it. Like it's unnecessary suffering. And that was the conclusion that I arrived at. And you might reach a different one. So, whatever. The whole point of this video, guys, is like think for yourself. Make do critical thinking, make your own decisions. Don't let somebody else tell you, hey, this is the right thing to do, you should do it this way, and blah blah blah. Like, in some cases, yeah, you should probably be listening. Like, if you're trying to learn to play piano, like, there's probably somebody who knows how to do that. But that's where you take instruction in that type of thing. You don't take instruction in how to eat, like I mean, you can take instruction in how to eat because nutritionists might know, but what's the most ethical way to eat? You have to decide that. It's ethics are a personal thing. Like, yeah, I hope this video gets some response, and uh, whatever questions you have or concerns, you can go ahead and leave a little comment down there. Um, I'll try to answer, but like I said, as far as the ethics goes, like that's up to you. Like nobody's gonna decide that for you. You need to decide that for yourself, and you don't have to justify your eating habits to anybody. You can be, you can say, oh, I'm gonna be vegetarian some of the time or none of the time. I hope that this was somewhat helpful. And if you want to read this book, um, it's a really good book. So I'll put like a link to the Amazon to the book down below. Um, if you're into like animal ethics or the way that people relate to animals, it's a super good read. Highly recommended. All right. Bye.